Viewer advisory. This video contains rapid-fire image cuts that may not be everybody's cup of tea, or coffee, or whatever caffeinated fuel is keeping you operational. Also, be prepared. There will be visual puns. Lots of them. The good, the bad, and why would you even say that? And yes, fully loaded, unapologetic 80s dad jokes. Delivered by a certified senior who grew up when LOL was something you actually did out loud. Younger viewers, you've been warned. But also, welcome. Think of this as a cultural field trip to a time before Wi-Fi, when our humor had no buffering, just consequences. Proceed with caution.
I am Optimus Prime, courageous and noble, like a mighty lion.
I am Starscream, ambitious, cunning, and sly, like a snake.
I am Perceptor, intelligent, precise, with vision as sharp as an eagle. I am Huffer, and I don't even wanna be here.
In our lives, we come across all different kinds of personalities. You've got the popular, charismatic types, the ones everyone naturally gravitates towards, always the center of attention. Then, there are the quiet, introspective ones, perfect for those one-on-one, deeper conversations. You've also got the inspirational types, the ones who give you energy and make you want to get up and go, go, go. And then, you've got the complete opposite, the ones who don't just see the dark side in everything, they make sure you know all about it. The energy vampires, the Debbie Downers, the pessimists, the whiners. But every now and then you come across someone a little more unique, someone who might actually be all of those things rolled into one. But despite all the complaining, all the negativity, they still make a positive impact on our lives because, well, they get the job done, they show up, they deliver, and in a strange way, they can end up being some of the most reliable dudes you'll ever meet. And that, in a nutshell, is Huffer, the Autobot construction engineer who is basically a walking contradiction. He's cynical, hard-boiled, pessimistic, and probably one of the most unpleasant Autobots to be around on a daily basis. To say he's cranky would be an understatement. Huffer is the poster boy for whiny pessimism, constantly complaining, grumbling, and expecting the worst in every situation. He sees the world, as Bumblebee once put it, through sludge-colored windshields. And yet, like I said earlier, he gets the job done. That's really the defining thing about Huffer. He'll tell you something can't be built. He'll insist it's impossible. He'll complain before the job starts, complain while he's doing it, and probably complain even after it's finished. But somehow, despite all of that, he's still the one who ends up building it. And not just building it, but pulling off things that feel completely out of reach. Give Huffer a pile of scrap, junk, steel, broken equipment, leftover parts, and he can turn it into something extraordinary. Whether it's advanced machinery or massive structures, he has this almost uncanny ability to make something out of nothing. At times, it honestly feels like he could build anything out of bobby pins and glue. Huffer isn't just skilled, he's one of the smartest engineers among the Autobots, with a deep understanding of math and physics that goes all the way into the theoretical level. Molecular structure is the key to success. And it's not just brain power, he's equipped for the job too. Huffer's weird-looking cylindrical arms are fitted with advanced sensors that let him analyze materials down to the smallest detail. Things like tensile strength, heat resistance, elasticity, basically everything he needs to know to build something that actually holds together. It makes him incredibly precise and incredibly efficient. On top of that, he's strong. Like, really strong. We're talking about lifting around 40,000 pounds or a woolly mammoth easily overhead. No problemo. When you lay it all like that, it actually makes perfect sense why Huffer was one of the first Autobots chosen by Optimus Prime to be part of the ARC crew, the team sent on that critical mission to find more Energon and keep the fight against the Decepticons going. He has the brains, he has the tools, he has the strength. He's exactly who you'd want for the job. Unfortunately, all of that tends to get overshadowed by one thing: his attitude. Because for a lot of fans, that's basically what Huffer is. That's his identity, the complaining, the pessimism, the constant expectation that everything's about to go wrong. All laid out in that very whiny voice. Well, that and the odd dome-shaped head, the diamond goggles, and the very gaudy purple and orange color scheme. Just kidding. That being said, for better or worse, it really is Huffer's personality that makes him memorable. It's what makes him stand out, and if you ask me, what makes him relatable. I've said it time and time again, but one of the major keys to the Transformers' success was laid out early on by Bob Budiansky, the Marvel Comics writer who was given the unenviable task of defining these robots in disguise from day one. He didn't just stop at simple archetypes, the strong one, the smart one, the coward. He went deeper. He gave them reasons, motivations, personalities that actually meant something. And with Huffer, he didn't just give us a complainer. He gave us a reason why, because in a way, Huffer might be one of the most mature and one of the most intriguing psychological studies of that original 1984 roster. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been far away from home, in a place or even a country where everything feels different? The language, the customs, the people, where every day you feel like the odd one out. And the idea of home, of belonging, just feels farther and farther away. Now, imagine that multiplied tenfold. Imagine waking up millions of years into the future, not just in another country, but on an entirely alien planet, trillions of miles away from home, without even knowing if your home still exists the way you remember it. And the only thing that feels familiar is war, pain, destruction. That's Huffer. His constant complaining isn't just a surface-level personality quirk. It's the manifestation of something deeper, something heavier. Huffer is, in many ways, dealing with severe psychological distress, a kind of chronic homesickness for Cybertron, the only place he's ever known. After crashing on Earth 4 million years ago aboard the Ark, he's essentially stranded in what he sees as an alien, primitive, and unpredictable world. And while Autobots like Jazz or Hound might find wonder in Earth, or someone like Prowl see it as a tactical environment, or Optimus Prime seeing it as a place worth protecting, not everyone is built that way. Some Autobots just signed up for a job and ended up with something they never asked for, something too hard to handle, something they'd probably undo in a heartbeat if they could. And that's why Huffer reacts the way he does. He protests missions, he predicts failure, he complains loudly and constantly that everything he builds will eventually be reduced to scrap by the Decepticons. And maybe, in a way, that's his coping mechanism. Because at the end of the day, ultimately, he copes. He still shows up, he still does his job, and for that, I'd argue Huffer is a hero defined not by courage or charisma or even optimism, but by reliability. Because Huffer will tell you a suspension bridge can't be built, complain every step of the way, and then turn around and build something indestructible anyway. He may not be built for combat, lacking the heavy weaponry that makes other Autobots effective on the battlefield, but his contributions to the war effort, through infrastructure, engineering, and sheer persistence, are immeasurable. And while Huffer will probably go down in history as one of the least utilized characters from that original cast of Transformers, I'll give him this. When he was used, his portrayal stayed consistent with what was originally laid out by Budiansky. In the original G1 cartoon, as mentioned earlier, Huffer started out as part of the Autobots who crash-landed on Earth and awakened in 1984. From the very beginning, he's clearly not a soldier. He's an engineer who hates fighting and doesn't want to be on Earth at all. He constantly complains and longs to return to Cybertron, often needing encouragement from Optimus Prime, just to stay in the fight. Early missions already established this, showing him as unlucky and reluctant, like getting trapped during the oil rig battle and needing to be rescued by Brawn. And throughout Season 1, that's pretty much what he does. He complains. That being said, I'd argue that his most memorable moment comes when he actually shows that reliability we've been talking about, stepping up to tow Optimus Prime's trailer after his leader falls in a one-on-one battle with Megatron. It's a very brief moment, but it's one that almost everyone remembers when thinking about Huffer. And not just the fans, even toy designers have carried that moment forward, with almost every modern Huffer figure including compatibility with Optimus Prime's trailer. And really, when he's not hauling Optimus Prime's trailer or complaining, Huffer is just doing his job. All the way up to his final day in 2005, he's doing what he does best, helping with construction work before being killed in the Battle of Autobot City in the Transformers, the movie. And while his actual death or even his body isn't shown on screen, it is confirmed later. His final resting place aboard an intergalactic Autobot mausoleum is revealed, only for it to be destroyed when that very mausoleum is plunged into a star. Yeah, as if Huffer needed anything else to complain about. And speaking of things to complain about, how about the general lack of detailing and deco a good number of our favorite Transformers are being released with? Thankfully, that's where today's sponsor, Toy Hacks, comes in. If you've ever felt like your figure was almost there, but just missing that extra bit of character, Toy Hacks offers premium upgrade labels and decals that help bring these bots closer to how we remember them, or maybe even better. From subtle touch-ups to full-on visual and textured upgrades, it's a simple way to take something good and make it shelf-worthy. And yes, they even have sets for Huffer. I mean, if that doesn't fix things, I don't know what will. Even he's gotta run out of things to complain about at some point, right? So yes, if you're looking to give your Transformers, and yes, even that occasional grumpy construction specialist, the detailing they deserve, check out Toy Hacks at the link in the description below. Fortunately, the original Marvel Comics sorta gave Huffer a little more to do, although it didn't exactly start out great for him. Very early on, he's seen calling for punishment against their human ally Sparkplug Witwicky for supposedly helping the Decepticons produce energon from Earth fuels while under captivity. And to make matters worse, poor Sparkplug ends up suffering a near-fatal heart attack when he understandably tries to escape the angry Autobot engineer. Definitely not a great look for Huffer. That being said, as expected, Huffer still steps up when it matters. With the Autobots running dangerously low on energy, he's chosen as one of the 5 to receive the team's remaining power for a final battle. Even though he takes heavy damage, he holds the line until victory is achieved. Ironically, thanks to the Decepticons succumbing to tainted energon, courtesy of Sparkplug. You're welcome, Huffer. Oh, and let's just leave off the part where Shockwave arrives shortly and basically kicks everyone's ass. But it's a few issues later where Huffer, or more specifically his homesickness, really takes center stage. After Ratchet repairs the Autobots following their return to the Ark, Huffer is shown to be fully functional but once again mentally distracted, deeply homesick for Cybertron to the point where it starts interfering with his responsibilities. Instead of helping rebuilding a communication system, he secretly begins working on a device to contact home, frustrating Prowl. To help refocus him, Prowl sends Huffer out on a mission, where he meets a human trucker named Bomber Bill, someone who mirrors his own homesickness, especially after having his truck stolen by the Constructicons. That encounter reinforces Huffer's emotional state, but it also sets up a turning point. When the Decepticons attempt to build a communications device to call for reinforcements from Cybertron, Huffer is forced to make a choice. Let them succeed and finally get a chance to contact home, or stop them. He chooses to destroy the device, giving up his own chance to reach Cybertron in order to prevent a Decepticon invasion. It's a reluctant but important moment of growth. Huffer does the right thing. In the end, despite Bomber Bill sacrificing his own truck in an attempt to stop the Decepticons, they still manage to make contact with Cybertron. But even so, Bill leaves Huffer with something just as valuable, I guess, an appreciation for Earth and the human race. Not bad, even if Huffer complains about it every step of the way and manages to have the last negative sentiment in the conversation. Unfortunately, that's pretty much all she wrote for Huffer when it comes to further comic or animated appearances. Even in more modern comic runs like Dreamwave or IDW, Universe is best known for breathing new life into traditionally third or fourth string Transformers by crafting intricate story arcs around them. Huffer was still largely unused. I mean, he was there, for sure, but never really the central character in any meaningful story. Which is honestly a bit unfortunate because I believe a character like Huffer has some real strong storytelling potential. Hopefully, the latest Energon comics from Skybound will finally give him something more meaningful to do. Oh wait, sorry, scratch that. Anyway, given all that, if you ask me, the most interesting stories about Huffer weren't told in the comics or cartoons, but in real life, through the toys, starting with the original Huffer figure, which actually has a story of its own to tell. When you look at that first lineup of Autobots released in 1984, you'll notice that Huffer, along with fellow Minibots Brawn, Gears, and Windcharger, look quite different from everyone else. Sure, they were simpler in design, but more than that, they didn't look quite as human as most of their larger Autobot teammates. Instead, they had a more old-school, boxy, 1950s sci-fi aesthetic, with large visors and face masks that gave them a sort of Cylon-esque vibe. And there's a very good reason for that. While it's widely known that a majority of those first-wave Transformers toys originated from the Japanese Diaclone line, it's worth noting that Huffer and company weren't part of that group. These guys actually had a completely different origin, a remnant of which can be found in that mysterious M sculpted on the side of Huffer's truck cab. An M that stands for another transforming toy line, born in the USA, called the Mysterians, from another toy company, Knickerbocker, best known for their Raggedy Ann dolls back in the 60s. But despite having prototypes and designs ready, the Mysterians never saw the light of day, at least not in their intended form. After facing financial difficulties, Knickerbocker was eventually absorbed by Hasbro, and Huffer and the others were sold off to Takara, where they became part of the Microchange line, just in time to be scooped up again by Hasbro and turned into the Transformers. And so, in a rather ironic twist, unlike the character he would eventually become, forever longing for home, the toy that became Huffer was exiled overseas to Japan, only to make its way back home to America. But even after finding its way back home, that Huffer toy apparently wasn't done traveling. With the growing popularity of Transformers, Hasbro began licensing the brand to international companies to produce their own local versions of these robots that were more than meets the eye. One such example was Rubiplas in Venezuela, which released their own version of Huffer in 1985. Worth mentioning because while most of the other Minibots retained their familiar colors, this Huffer showed up in a striking bright red and neon yellow deco. In 1986, he continued his world tour into Greece, released by El Greco and now known as Gigantas, and this time looking closer to Huffer's original colors but with a deeper shade of orange and some rather unsettling red eyes. That same year also saw a variant of the Minibot Pipes, essentially a heavy retool of Huffer, released as a simple repaint of the Huffer toy, which we'll circle back to a little later. Then in 1987, Huffer made its way back to South America, released in both Peru and Chile by the company Linsa, once again sporting those bright neon color schemes, either peach or blue, paired with yellow. And finally, in 2004, the original Huffer mold resurfaced with a new black and orange deco and a new identity as Road Ranger, reportedly inspired by the GoBot of the same name. After that long run of repaints, things started to settle down a bit on the Huffer toy front. In 2007, he appeared as a BotCon exclusive, though the figure itself was essentially an unremarkable repaint of the Cybertron Armorhide mold. And speaking of unremarkable repaints, 2015's Legends Huffer from the Combiner Wars was basically a repainted retool of Optimus Prime. Before that, though, Hasbro did give us a more original take on Huffer as part of 2010's Power Core Combiners line. Here, Huffer was paired with a new Minicon partner named Caliburst and served as the core robot that could combine with 4-limbed drones to form a larger combined mode that kinda sorta looked like Menasor. But interesting gimmick aside, apart from the similar paint deco and the fact that he transformed into a truck, nothing really screamed Huffer. And apparently, neither did this guy, released in 2013, a time when it felt like Hasbro was just slapping the name Huffer onto any orange and purple truck transformer. But as basic as that repaint was, the following year gave us arguably one of the most unique takes on Huffer and his traditional retool, Pipes, in the form of Bluster and Trench. Based on designs by the late great Derek J. Wyatt for the Transformers animated series, and brought to life by third-party company Mech Ideas under their Techno Toon Titans line, these were some seriously cool reinterpretations. At least, I thought so. And if the inspiration behind them wasn't immediately obvious, well, how about now? But as cool as that version was, if what you really wanted was a proper Classics G1 style Huffer, you had to wait until 2021, when Huffer finally got some love with his deluxe class release in the Transformers Kingdom line. While more detailed and updated with modern stylings, including a shield and a weapon that could be repurposed into a hauling truck bed in alt mode, there was no mistaking who this guy was. Domed head and diamond eyes, silvery cylindrical arms, and of course that unmistakable orange and purple deco. Check, check, and check. But just to circle back for a moment, as expected, this version was retooled into a modern Pipes, which was then recolored and slightly retooled into both Road Ranger and Puffer. Wait, who? Well, remember that European Pipes variant that was essentially just the original Huffer toy in Pipes colors? Apparently that's now Puffer, a brand new character created from a time anomaly that fused both Pipes and Huffer into a single being. This version was released in a 2-pack alongside Road Ranger, with a story involving a quantum surge that pulled them through time to prehistoric Earth to battle Terrorsaur and a mutated Tigatron. Now, on the Masterpiece front, surprisingly, Huffer was actually proposed for release by Takara in the MP line, but unfortunately that never came to pass, which, if you ask me, is kind of a drag, which is incidentally Huffer's name in Japan. Fortunately, as always, third-party companies stepped in to fill the gap with several options. First up was a heavily stylized version by ex-Transbots named Crank, released in 2013. While it helped fill a gap in early Masterpiece collections, it suffered from some of the most clunkiest engineering and fiddly transformations ever that were pretty common in early ex-Transbots releases. Yeah, I'm looking at you guys, Boost and Ollie. Cubex followed up in 2014 with a much better option called Engineer Huff, and when Cubex rebranded into Bad Cube, Engineer Huff was also updated into Engineer Huff 2.0 with an improved build quality and design. Along with this, Captain Huffy, a sort of alternate conceptual take of an older, upgraded Huffer, meant to launch a brand new Nature's subline based on original interpretations by Bad Cube. I mean, it was a decent enough toy, I guess, but probably not the character you'd choose to launch a new line, of which, unsurprisingly, Captain Huffy ended up being both the first and the last. But going back to Engineer Huff, honestly, it was a great figure and served as my default Masterpiece Huffer for years, until it was eventually dethroned in 2019 by FV03 Reckless Combat by an unknown third-party company called Final Victory, which came sold in a 3-pack with FV01 War Machine and FV02 Hummer, all of which were decent, I guess, but I'm just kidding. This Huffer was not enough to take out my Engineer Huff, who lasted on my shelf as my default Huffer until 2022, up until he was replaced by, surprise surprise, Fans Toys, and their Huffer called Rig. And I've got to give Fans Toys credit here, especially in terms of design and engineering, because they basically took Huffer's traditional transformation where the upper body folds into the truck cab and the legs become the rear, and flipped it. Now it's the legs that form the cab and the upper body becoming the rear. And while that might sound like an over-engineered nightmare, it actually isn't. And it's surprisingly intuitive and genuinely fun. So yeah, good job, Fans Toys. Speaking of which, do you know what else Fans Toys did a good job with? Evading Hasbro's legal wrath by releasing their version of a masterpiece Soundwave, Acoustic Wave, under a completely different company name. But shh, don't let Hasbro find out. If you want to know more about this rather stealthy move and, well, more about Soundwave, I've got his story right here. Or if you want to check out my latest video, I've got that over here. Either way, thanks for watching, and I hope to hear from you in the comments below. Would you spend a day with Huffer? Go ahead and tell me your story.